Welcome to The Learning Curve, powered by Turn, the podcast for owners who care as much about their spreadsheets as they do their students. I'm Adam, and I'm here to get into the weeds of running a successful education business. Today, we're joined by Dr. Howard Stribbell, the founder of Hive Schools International. He also has an independent school network and an ecosystem of educational businesses, huge, vast experience in the region. Welcome to the show. Thank you.
Hey, Adam, nice to meet you. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure. Please kind of reintroduce yourself and where you came from and where you are today.
Yeah, 20 years ago, I was sitting in a small town in southern Alberta as a teacher and vice principal, and I saw an ad for an international school in Macau. I had hoped that Macau was somewhere in the Caribbean and found out it was part of China and next to Hong Kong. Came out to Macau to start Alberta's first ever international school. I was the secondary principal there, and then the head of school. And we built that school up to 1,400 students. At the same time, we planted schools in Guangzhou, in Sanya, and in Phnom Penh. And then after 12 years as the head, then I started to be like the superintendent and help to run more schools. And found a partner. We ended up doing some school acquisitions, and I was running all of her international schools for her. We had her schools, my schools, our schools, and even some independent schools that we're advising. And then along the way, started to do other businesses, ran some marketing and admissions businesses, started a professional, and then uh, partnered in with a professional development company called 21st Century Learning out of Hong Kong, where we do conferences and consulting. And then I also do a teacher recruitment company because we were recruiting so many teachers for all the different schools. So we centralized it and work together on that now. So yeah, I'm still involved. I'm stepping back a little bit. I only worked with 5 schools now, not 8, and cut one of the businesses out, but still doing the other one. So yeah, it's a great time, and I had no idea 20 years ago that all of this would happen once I came to Asia.
How'd you end up in Thailand?
So in Thailand, I was based in China for a long time, and then decided to make a move and came to Thailand. I was looking at working with a school in Chiang Mai, and I love Chiang Mai. It was a great place. I love the Thai people, Thai food, and then I just felt a miss. I really missed the ocean. I wanted to be near the ocean, so I came to Phuket. I also met another school owner there who wanted some help starting up another Canadian international school. So it came together and built my home in Phuket. And then I also have a place here in Bangkok where I'm based when I'm helping schools here in Bangkok. Still helping the other schools outside of Thailand as well. In fact, tonight I'm flying to Cambodia to go visit one of the schools.
Tell me about the transition from going to Canadian schools to Macau and then the rest of Asia. Were there any stark differences or, was it all the same? Tell me about that.
Yeah, big differences. When you're in a public system in Canada, it's the public system, it's government funded, you accept every student that shows up at your door, you're used to working with limited resources, and it's a pretty good system. But then when you come overseas and you're working with an international school, now it's much more complex. You've got students from multiple countries, staff from multiple countries, recruiting staff. You don't just put out an ad and get CVs the next week and hire someone the next week. It takes months of planning and work visas. But it was amazing. At the same time, one of the things I love about Asia is that parents value education and they're willing to invest in it, whether it's a tutoring center or an international school or an international program or extra lessons for their kids. Um, and that's Asian people from all the different countries, but also the expats that live overseas. It's such a fascinating community, and they really do respect and try to invest in education. So I raised my kids in the international school. They both graduated from my school. And I really like working with people who have their own kids in the schools because then they're committed. They're building a school that's good enough for their kid. That means it's going to be good enough for other people's kids.
The students, I do think, are very different as well. Uh, Western countries compared to Asian countries. Why do you think that is? Like, what is it about the culture or differences that makes them, you know, like schooling more, I would say?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is the type of family that will move from Canada, US, UK, Australia to a foreign country and live there. Those tend to be pretty highly driven families already. So those values of entrepreneurship, C-suite executives, they're quite high functioning. Many of them did not go to university themselves, right? They're of that generation where they started working at the low levels and worked their way up. So they don't know how to get their own children into university because they didn't do it, but they expect their children to go to university. And I think expectations is very different. And then for local families, whether it's Thai or Chinese or Cambodian, they're looking to give their kids opportunities. And those opportunities can be in China or in North America or UK, an English based country. So they're all looking for opportunities for their kids and to give them the best possible advantage.
When you're developing these schools and consulting them or advising them as well, what are some common challenges that most founders face when starting a school, and how do you address them?
The the biggest challenge is the gap between the vision and the reality. I think a lot of people go into education, whether it's a local Thai family who starts a school or it's a Chinese investor who wants to purchase a school or build a school for an investment reason, or it's a nonprofit group that's doing it alongside a university or some other kind of organization. The, they're all very idealistic. They want to be involved in education because they understand the value of education. There'll be competing expectations on much profit it should generate or surplus and how fast it'll happen. And anytime I work with partners, it's very important that partners understand that education businesses run very different than traditional businesses. You've got to have the long view at it. But the challenge is it's not like a business. It's not just acquire customers, sell them a service or a product, and then have profit. And of course, most businesses aren't that simple either. But in schools, it's a long process. It all comes down to trust. And you can make mistakes in operations that will have people leaving your school. The security guard is rude to them. The front desk person isn't able to answer questions. The head of school, doesn't cater to parents' wishes or is not willing to entertain conversations or food services. I've seen schools shut down because of a food service crisis, and parents lose trust very quickly. It used to be in the international world, parents would suspend their disbelief, they would trust the school, and they would overlook some of these hiccups. Today's international family and local families are much more sophisticated, and they will change very quickly. And they know the difference between an A levels program and an IB program and an American program or a Canadian program. Um, and they're not just looking for university offers. So I think most families still want that, but they want the whole experience, the well-roundedness, the community, and the gap between what founders or owners or boards think they want and how to get there operationally is a huge gap. That takes years and lots of skills that they may not have.
Can you speak on that gap and where you come in on that?
Yeah, so in my role, because I was a teacher and a principal and a head of school and a superintendent, and I was an owner of schools or am an owner of schools as well, I see it from all the different sides, the different places at the table. And everyone is there, for 95% the same reason, which is for the students and to have a good, successful school. And good, successful schools are schools where kids are happy, kids are learning, you have results, and parents are happy, and staff are happy. That we all want that. It's how we get there and the speed at which we get there. So an investor may be looking at, they want to recover their investment in 3 years or 5 years. Um, the owner may have the land, they build the building, maybe they buy a brand, but then that's it. They don't have anything, none of the software in there, whether it's software like what you guys offer, which is very operational software, or are we talking software culturally on how we run things, how the staff interacts, the role that they have with the community. So there's a lot of that. So my role, I work between the head of school and the owner, or the head of the school and the board, and I help translate and put it into terms that each people can understand. And I try to bring each person to the table, um, and to diffuse any potential conflict between those groups. Because when conflict happens between the owner and the head, there's nothing else to happen, right? Like either one's going to win, one's going to lose, and it's usually the head of school that loses and has to go find a job. But actually, in reality, they both want the same thing. They're just not listening to each other on how they do that. So my role is to help advise them. And the other thing that I do too, because I have, almost 30 years of experience and 20 years internationally and overseas in Asia, I know the market, I know families, I know marketing, I know academic achievements. I've done the models, I've grown schools. I help advise owners and boards on those difficult decisions when you need to reposition in the market. The market is constantly changing. What you did 15 years ago and was successful at is not going to be the same today. So I help do a lot of that advising on helping them make those big decisions.
A lot of schools are built on brands or reputation that evolves over time. One of the hardest challenges is opening a brand new school. Can you speak on like how to attract top parents and families when you have a brand new school and no reputation, and how do you do that from ground zero?
Man, that's the hardest. I call that pioneering schools, where you have to break the ground, and that ground can be pretty hard, and it can also be very competitive. The most important thing is know your unique points. What makes you different than the other schools? Don't just pop up another convenience store next to another 7-Eleven and think you're going to fight 7-Eleven. That's not going to work. You have to have something different. Make sure you understand the market and where the white space is and where you can position yourself. Um, that's basic business. But then the most important thing is relationships. Um, Families enroll their children in schools that they trust. Staff sign contracts to come overseas with people that they trust. It may not even be the school. It's the head, it's the principal, it's the HR manager, it's that interaction. And we can build or lose trust very quickly. And so that all comes down to relationships. My mantra is always the three R's: relationships, results, reputation. And they have to work together. So you focus on relationships, you focus on bringing in the results for schools, and that's what's going to build your reputation.
It does take a lot of time.
It does. And it's what the market perceives you as. It's not what you think you're telling the market. It's not your marketing is copy and images and text. That's not necessarily what the market or the people perceive you as. So, and I think a lot of businesses and schools don't listen to their pop to their market. They don't listen to their parents as much as they should be. We're so focused on getting the right metaphor or the right image or the right website up. Um, we should probably be spending more time just listening to our customers and our clients. What are their pain points? What are we doing well? What do we need to do better?
What's your current view of the Thailand market right now? There's a lot of changes. There's 30 international schools that opened up in Bangkok this year alone, but there's a demographic decrease and there's a lot of changes going on. What are your thoughts on the current state?
I mean, we got some big premium brands coming in as well. Dulwich coming in, Magdalen College, Oxford, who actually I helped set up that partnership. Highgate, another partnership that I helped to set up in Chonburi. Big names are coming in. You need to know where you are in the market: premium, ultra premium, um, um, tier one, tier two, tier three, and there's room for I think everyone there, as long as you understand where you are. Location in Bangkok plays a big part of it. People are not going to drive an hour and a half to send their kindergartner to school, so you need to be in the right area where your market is. Um, yeah, I mean, I think Thai families really see the value of education. They want something more than what the local education program is providing right now. And I think the local education program is also going through some innovation and trying to improve. But for families with students or children, they don't want to wait. They're worried about their kids. Like, okay, The government can fix the system for my grandchildren, but my children, I'm going to give them the opportunities that they need. Um, yeah, it's when does the market become oversaturated? That's a good question. Now, I don't like making this comparison, but it's a little bit, it's true. In Macau, right, the Las Vegas of the East, every time a new casino opened, people worried that the market would go down. Everyone would get lower and lower percentage. It didn't, right? It was Field of Dreams idea. Build it and they will come. And the more casinos that opened, the bigger the market that was created. In something like education, it's also true. Build it and they will come. We create an ecosystem where companies can then recruit more foreign staff to come because there's stronger healthcare, there's stronger education, there's stronger living conditions. I think Thailand is a destination country for a lot of families, and then still has strong demand from the local families as well.
I want your insight on this because Thailand does have a lot of very good international high schools and primary schools, but not necessarily universities. And I just want to know what your perspective is on that. Like, is there a market for that? Is this like a big gap, or where are they going after high school?
Yeah, I mean, in my schools, I have a mixture. I have families um, that are predominantly Thai, and they're choosing to stay in Thailand, and they're going to top schools in Bangkok. And then I have other families that are sending them overseas. There's kind of two mentalities. There's one mentality that is do your bachelor's degree in Thailand, and then for your master's degree, you can go overseas. You're older, you're more mature, you'll be able to handle it better. And then there's the other families that say go overseas, do your bachelor's degree, then come back to Thailand or any of the other countries, and then you're going to have more opportunities, a better chance at having a better job and more salary. It really depends on the family on what there is. I think there is lots of opportunity in Thailand for higher education to come in. I think, again, just like families are investing in K to 12 education, the expectation is that almost like virtually every child will go to university. A university degree is now kind of the entry point to the workforce. One, for the knowledge and wisdom that and skills that they learn, and two, for them to mature and find themselves and be at a better spot in their life in order to start their working career. And I think also society, we're not in as big of a rush to get into the workforce. Let's take our time a little bit and create more opportunities.
Do you think Thailand will start growing its university space a bit? I just don't see the growth that the high schools have.
There's a lot to that. One is the what's happening inside Thailand, and the people that control aspects of that, and how tight or loose are they on the requirements for bringing in foreign universities or new innovative universities that come in. I think we're going to see more, um, what do we call, vocational colleges and universities coming up, and there'll be um, a raising of the level of vocational school as well. It's not going to be just low level, entry level jobs. There's going to be higher level stuff, just like we see in Western countries. I think that's a huge opportunity for people. Um, and then the world events. I'll tell you, I just saw IB results were just released, this week, and I saw a school in Hong Kong. The three students that all got perfect scores on IB, which could probably go to any school in North America or UK if they wanted to. This is a Hong Kong school, all choosing to stay in Hong Kong for university, and that should tell you something, right? Like, and universities in Hong Kong are great too, but those students could be going somewhere else. They probably have offers somewhere else, but families are holding them closer. There's not as much trust in Western universities or Western society and culture as maybe there once was. I'm hoping that's going to change again because, um, yeah, the last thing we need is our world to be more divisive. We need to be becoming closer together as a global community, not farther apart.
Speaking of that, when you're doing the teacher recruitment,
Mm.
you're right. Finding teachers is like one of the most essential things. How do you attract teachers to whatever school you open in any country from afar?
The best case is word of mouth from your existing teachers. If they're happy, they love the culture, they see the school is growing, they know that the school is fair and honorable and respects the contract, they're going to be your best recruiters. My teacher alumni network in Canada is huge because they come and they work in Macau or Cambodia or Thailand for 2 years, 5 years. Lots of them, our average was like 5 years staying, and they came for 2 years, but would typically stay for five. They go home, they're telling all their friends about this experience overseas and what it was like for their kids. And some families can't come right now because they've got aging parents or their kids are in school, so they wait till the kids graduate. So make sure your school is strong and you have a strong staff culture. Invest in them. Do things properly. And um, and then I also run a Canadian teacher recruitment company just because most Canadian teachers aren't aware of the international market and what's out there. And there is risks. There's lots of poorly run schools. Contracts are broken. People are fired without due process, bad culture, bad experience. And so we have a group of schools that we represent where our prospective teachers will come to us and they know that they can trust it because we're behind it and the schools that are in our network. So that kind of reputation building helps. And when a new school joins, they gain from that reputation as well, even though they don't have their own reputation. Um, the best thing to do in teacher recruitment is manage expectations. We don't want people coming overseas thinking they're going to have a year-long vacation and teach 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day. Um, International education is hard work. There's high expectations. When every student is expected to get it offers to university, you've got to get them to a high level. And often the people that do come overseas, they're type A personalities, they're go-getters. So they're going to be coaching, they're going to be tutoring, they're going to be involved in the committee work, which is all great, but the the level of professionalism is very high and the expectations are very high. So um, when you're recruiting, don't sell pipe dreams and sandcastles in the sky, which Thailand can kind of be like that because people think, oh, wow, it's Thailand. I'm going to come and have a vacation. No, you're going to work hard. You're going to have lots of opportunity for a vacation, and it's a 1 hour flight instead of a 10 hour or 15 hour flight to come. But the work still comes first.
Regarding parent expectations, there's always been a huge demand for Western taught teachers. Are you seeing that decrease? Are they more accepting of local teachers, or is there still just going to be a huge demand for that?
Yeah, both. I think schools are trying to do the best they can to, educate parents that it doesn't necessarily need to be a native English speaker, a non-native English speaker, someone coming from uh, Mexico who speaks English with a Spanish accent um, isn't going to be any different than the accents that we already have in native English. If you're coming from Wales or Scotland or southern United States or eastern Canada, you're going to have an accent as well. So I think in the sense of inclusion, we're trying to be more fair to teachers. And I mean, this gets into racism as well. And I definitely saw this in China, a little bit less so in Thailand, but definitely in China. And parents have different stereotypes and misperceptions about teachers' abilities, depending on which country they went to. Now, I do believe the education system, the teacher training programs, make a big difference, and we want to make sure we're putting amazing teachers in front of students. So we look at where they went to school, what the school program was like, and if they have the skills, and then what happened after that, the professional development, IB certification, AP certification, all of that aspect there too. But yeah, I mean, you're dealing with a lot of history and stereotypes, but I think we're moving forward in that way.
Speaking of China versus Thailand, you worked with a lot of schools in a lot of different countries in Asia. What are the differences you found regarding Thailand versus any of them or particular countries?
Yeah, China, it used to be you just opened up an English school and people would come flooding in. and that was less than 20 years ago, and you could make a fortune. And you could just hire ESL backpackers, anyone who has a little bit of English, and they could teach, and parents were happy to pay because they had no choice. There was nothing else on in the landscape there. The competition landscape has gotten much more fierce. The expectations are much higher. Parents are much more quickly to change, and the government's also gotten involved too. So the government starts to restrict certain aspects. You can't tutor to the Gaokao, the Chinese, SAT system, and they don't want there to be a big gap between the families that have affluence and can afford private tutors and tutoring companies and those families that can't. So they're trying to limit that. The double reduction policy in China has caused a big change. And unsurprisingly, China doesn't want Chinese citizens being educated by foreign curriculum and foreign philosophies, in the exact same way that North America would not allow China to open up a pure Chinese school. And, you know, um, even in Canada, we wouldn't allow a pure American curriculum and ideology to be taught to Canadian citizens. Education is a big part of socialization and furthering our country's values and identity. So, but what that definitely happened, what that caused was countries, brands that were going into China to run international programs for Chinese citizens, that got shut down. It's getting shut down. It's going to tighten up even more. That made them lose a lot of market. That then has them coming to places like Thailand, like Cambodia, like Vietnam, where there's more freedom to do that. And Chinese families who want that international education that they can no longer get in China are now coming to those countries as well. And especially a place like Thailand, where it's easy to live, it's not as expensive, and you can get a student visa. And mom and dad or grandma, grandpa can be added to the student visa so they can stay for the year. They can't work, but they can stay. That's really attractive to Chinese families and other nationality families. So I think Thailand is in a unique spot where it can really attract expat students, domestic students, and other foreign students who will come to Thailand, either boarding school or live with mom, dad, or grandma or grandpa, and just to attend education.
You've had a lot of unique perspectives because you've owned schools and worked with other schools, and you have your own educational services. So I have a question for people in like the ed tech space or educational services. How, what is the right way to approach a school, I guess, when offering a service? What's the wrong way? And from both sides, what do you recommend?
Yeah, it comes down to relationships, being transparent, and finding the gap, finding the problem that needs to be fixed. One, if you're too relationshipy, you're schmoozing and charming, and um, that comes across as sleazy. At the same time, you don't slide into someone's DMs and right away hit them up with, "Hey, I'm going to call you in, an hour, or can we set up a call next week? I want to tell you about my company." Like, no, I mean, I, I, I don't even know what you offer. I don't know the problem that I have that you're trying to fix, and I don't have time for that. Conferences are a great way to do that. We have a lot of vendors come to our conferences. They set up booths, and I'm surprised the number of people who just sit behind their table and just wait for someone to come and talk to them. Like, wow, here's all your market. One, put in a presentation to go solve a problem. It doesn't even have to be about your software. Go and talk about three different types of software. One of them might be yours, or what the problem is, and what off what advantages you offer. That helps build your reputation. You're now giving value and not expecting anything in return. People now respect you. They're gonna, hey, tell me more about the software package that you offer. Or um, I think that helps a lot. Give value, 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 value. Right? That's the Gary V thing. Jab, 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 left hook, or right hook, whatever it is. But give value, give value, give value. Don't just go for the sales right away. But definitely don't sit behind your table and just wait for people to come to you either. Um, I think LinkedIn is a great way to be adding value, building your network. and and then just constantly looking for opportunities to connect with school principals, teachers, anything that where you can add value.
What is your tech stack at the moment when you like open a school? Like what do you like to use?
Um, we do a lot of with like Google Apps because it's just so easy for collaborative planning and work. We run an open source student information system called Gibbon. We did that. It's based out of Hong Kong, mostly because we had some programmers on site, so we were able to customize it to what we wanted. That usually works for a school for a while until they want, something bigger, and then they're moving into some of the bigger student information systems. Um, Accounting is a difficult one. Everyone's using different types of payroll programs, accounting ledgers. It's hard to find a student information system that does all of it. So you end up having multiple pieces. Um, that can be definitely a challenge. And then, um, yeah, it's. I don't think we have any panaceas yet. Everyone's trying to find a solution, and as soon as it's not working, you have to migrate. It gets pretty hard, very tricky.
Well, that's the nightmare. That's why I'm curious what you start with. So it's mostly like Google Classroom for the most part.
Google Classroom, and we use Gibbon. Yeah, and then within Thailand, we'll have different payroll systems that we
Yeah.
use. HR is typically within the student information system, but I think, like you said, a lot of stuff exists on spreadsheets,
I know
which is
that's what,
probably
yeah.
not the best way.
Yeah, true. Uh, any other thoughts when it comes to operationally, like any last piece of wisdom you'd give to people either running a school right now or looking to get into that space, small or large? What would you tell them?
Yeah, it is a huge responsibility. This is not like opening up a convenience store or a car wash, and if it doesn't work, you just lose some money. We're seeing schools right now that are shutting down, especially in the UK with the VAT system and different things like that. And right, lives are being changed. Teachers are unemployed. Students are disenrolled. They have to find a new school. Families who maybe have moved there to attend that school now have to move somewhere else. It's a big responsibility, and you have to really understand that weight and accept it and take it reasonably. And if you can't handle that kind of weighted responsibility, then don't get into the education world because students are the most important thing in all of our businesses, and their wellness and their success is our success. I think that's the most important. And then um, reach out, network with people. I mean, you and I just happened to bump into each other online, and you took the initiative to reach out and connect. Do that more and more and learn and connect with more people. I think in the education world, we're so much more sharing, than corporately. I don't, s- I've never seen it as competition. To me, it's always about growing the market, and you have your role in it. Another school has their role in it. So I think most schools, most educators are pretty open and with sharing. So network, network, network.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is on LinkedIn. Also, I have my website, howardstribbell.com. And if people are out at any of our conferences for 21st Century Learning, please come up and say hi. And I'd love to meet everyone.
You have a book as well.
I do have a book. Yeah, it's called The Loneliest Seat. Just put it out this year. And it talks about the challenges that heads of schools, leaders, principals, owners face when suddenly they're sitting in that seat and they've got to make all the decisions and the weight of those decisions. And it comes with reflection questions, and it's about my journey, my experience, and I don't hold back. I tell it the way it is, which is most people find very refreshing and resonating. But then there's reflection questions that help them guide them on their journey as well.
Perfect. I'll put some links to that in the description. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Adam. Great meeting you, and best of luck.
Thank you.